Ahoy! I showed you the artifacts that have been changed on the PTR, but there are tons of other different pieces of gear that have also been changed or have been added from the new expedition, some current gear and so on, and I wanted to show you that as well because there's a lot of more interesting stuff here. The first thing we have is the Helm of the Bear, representative for all of these sets that come with health, Shirking Heals, and then some form of refreshing, sometimes even the old ones. So for example here you had refreshing ward. These are now finally upgradable, as well as every other PvP gear, and you can see that in this case they have health and Shirking Heals locked now, so that's going to be consistent for the sets. That's going to be what you're getting. You lose the old, sometimes illegal perk. I don't know what will happen to the currently existing ones in the game, but we'll find out about that. But anyways, you can basically craft your best in slot with this for many PvP situations, so this is very, very strong, of course. The same is also true for the weapons from the PvP track. So for example, Sword of the Champion used to have Penetrating Backstab, Vicious, and Keenly Empowered. And now the Keenly Empowered is whatever you want it to be. You can, for example, put attunement on this for nice extra damage, but depending on the weapon, that may not be what you want. And you can see that this is the case for all of the melee stuff here, but not all of these weapons have Penetrating Backstab. So for example, here you can see the Warhammer has Fractured Rend. So it depends on your playstyle. On the ranged weapons you have the Penetrating Headshot. So yeah, different things for different weapons. Some are better, some are worse. Especially the Fire Staff here will be very nice. This is pretty much best in slot for a lot of builds now. It has Alacritus Punishment now, so that's for the magical weapons, and I know that's very highly valued in many situations at the moment. So yeah, those are very, very strong weapons now. All of the named weapons here can be very, very useful. Even the Tower Shield here, I would argue, is very nice. You can see Slash Shield Ward and Sturdy Fortification. If you put Sturdy on that, that is best in slot for quite a few situations. The Greatsword is the only one here with Purifying Crits. Unfortunately, that doesn't even work at the moment, so we'll see if that gets fixed soon. By the way, what's especially noteworthy for the Fire Staff or the Ice Gauntlet here as well is that both Vicious as well as Alacritus Punishment have the damage con label, so this is the only way to get them together. So these are literally your new max damage best in slot options for certain builds, at least at the moment, until maybe Alacritus Punishment is not that meta anymore because less people are running haste. But for now, this is as good as it gets, or better than anything else you can possibly get in the game. Next we have the Champion's Amulet, where we're kind of seeing the opposite, because previously the perks that looked like they were changeable would be the Shirking and Power ones, so you could keep health and stamina recovery. That was nerfed or reverted or swapped around or whatever. This is now locked health and Shirking and Power, which makes this a whole lot weaker because Shirking and Power is really not that much of a valued perk for most players, whereas stamina recovery is pretty much mandatory, and otherwise you would have been able to just roll any protection with this, so you'll have to go to other gear, or actually roll to get that instead. Champion's Ring, on the other hand, is pretty decent this way and probably better than the other way around, because now it is Hardy and Invigorated Punishment, and you can just choose your kind of damage with that, because the perk pool here would allow you to, for example, just add thrust damage or slash damage to that, or whatever other damage you want. So that's generally strong for anyone who likes Invigorated Punishment. Champion's Earring is also at least okay, I would say. I personally don't rate Refreshing Toast very highly. Regenerating I do think is good, but I think the previous version was technically better with Regenerating and Refreshing, but it's fine. We get the ring instead, so I guess it's a trade-off. We get another way for a nice earring anyways. We'll get to that in a second, but first, this is one of the new dungeon drops from the new expedition. We'll look at a few of those. Here we have an Amulet with Divine and Frozen Protection. Not going to be best in slot, but a nice way to get Frozen Protection, a nice way to get a Amulet for any expedition that requires Frozen Protection as well, because you have Magnify on that too. So just a decent all-rounder. We have Halley's Comet and that's where we actually get the perks that I was saying that might be good. We're not getting Regenerating, we're getting Nimble instead, but depending on the situation that may be better. And you get that along with Refreshing here, so you can choose your third perk, which I think is a very strong combination to have. The only downside is Magnify, but gotta take trade-off somewhere, so this is gonna be a pretty nice one for, well, I think both PvP and PvE actually. I think this is one worth farming a bit. Aurora's Blessing, I think, is at least solid. It depends on how much you value Mending Protection, if you're using Orb, but if you are, then you're getting Mending Protection, Focus Logged, and you're getting Savior with that, which I think is a very strong perk to have on your life staff. So I think this is a very good named upgrade for many life staff players, depending on if you like this perk. Avalanche is a Great Axe that I would say is at least solid, because Currently, there aren't that many nice Great Axes that you can farm with nice perk combinations, and this one comes with Crippling Reap and Vicious. I prefer Refreshing Charge, but I think Crippling Reap with a 50% slow is still pretty good, and then you can choose your third perk, and you get the whole thing for free from the expedition as a named item. So I think it's definitely a solid option to have with the perk pool here, allowing for a lot of the stuff that you would otherwise have to roll for a pretty significant price, or you'd roll as a double for Vicious, but this makes it cheaper, this makes it nicer, so definitely a nice one to consider if you don't want to spend that much on a Great Axe. And then we get to some gear sets that work somewhat differently. We get to a best in slot set a little bit later. This one is also still a pretty good set, I would say. So this set is light, and it comes with Int, Enchanted Ward, and Shirking Fortification locked. And these are both damage absorb perks, so they normally don't roll together. This is an illegal combo. They're doing this a lot now for different dungeons. What the problem with this is that in light, Shirking Fortification is usually not that good. Maybe if you use Featherweight, it can be argued that it's a little bit better. But otherwise, it's something you want to run in medium, but you can run multiple light pieces in medium with certain setups. So that's technically not a problem. The problem is more so that this rolls Int. So you have to run a medium set that runs Int, which is not that common. Unless you want to run Int in your medium set where you're running something else, which is actually pretty solid. So yeah, I think this could definitely have certain applications, certain use cases. And this is a bit different, right? This is not a named set, so you don't have any upgrades here. You just have a random third perk. You go in the dungeon, you do kind of set up your gear in a way that you can roll this, I think. I think this is going to be loot bias. I think you will get this more often when you're in light, I'm assuming at least. And then you get the medium set more often in medium and so on. And then you hope for health, essentially, and you hope for as high gear score as possible. But on the other hand, you don't have to deal with Magnify, so pros and cons. The medium version of the same thing is this Tarnished Excavator set here. This comes with Dexterity, Enchanted Ward, and Freedom. Not illegal in that sense, you can have these perks together, it's normal, but a very strong combination of perks, and again, a very high chance to roll Freedom with that, health with that, because it's a very high chance perk in general. Also high chance to roll Conditioning, which is not necessarily bad. So that is going to be a good bunch of gear to get, if you like decks anyways. But for any deck setup that is using medium pieces, I think this is worth having a look at least. And then the heavy version here is Strength, and that comes with Enchanted Ward and Refreshing. So not super special, but again, you have a high chance to get health here, very high in this case. So definitely not terrible either. Something you can just kind of farm in the dungeon. So a lot of decent gear in the dungeon that is worth considering. And then we have this very best in slot stuff. This is only in heavy though, which is the set of the Frigid Dawn. All of these pieces come with Magnify. They are named, so you can upgrade them to 700 outright. And they come with Enchanted Ward and Elemental Aversion. And that is pretty much the best combination that you can get, I would say, because these are, in my opinion, the strongest damage absorb perks at the moment. And usually the issue is that you have to choose between all of them because they're kind of doing trade-offs with different things here. With this set, you don't have to choose. You just get both. And I think that is extremely strong. I would technically, like, even if you're not getting health, I would rate that over having one of them with health possibly, depending on the situation. The only problem is Magnify. You don't want to get too much of that, so you have to kind of balance your stats a little bit. But all in all, probably one of the strongest sets that you can currently get. Obviously, it's a heavy set, so you can use some pieces in medium, or you can use it in heavy, you can't use it in light. And also, a very, very strong counter, I think, if it works as expected, to the new bow. This is one of the things why I think the new bow may not be quite as much of a problem, at least if you're a heavy user, because you're just going to double mitigate that, basically, because you're mitigating the light and heavy attacks, and you're mitigating the elemental damage. So, very, very strong for that purpose. Very strong set. And also, looks kind of cool, I think. So, yeah, that one is definitely worth looking out for. We also have a change to shields, in that there is a new perk added to them, or a familiar perk rather, which is Enchanted Ward. It seems to roll very high now. I don't know if this is intended or just an accident, but Enchanted Ward is listed as rolling on all kinds of shields now. I would argue that on a tower shield you can get the full protection perks that are probably better with 15%, and on a round shield you're probably not looking for Enchanted Ward, but for a kite shield build I think Enchanted Ward is your best defensive option at least. So there are some interesting combinations you could do here. For example, you could have a weapon perk on there. I think on certain shields you can even yeah, you can roll Keen Speed on kite ships as well, so you have something like Keen Speed counterattack, Enchanted Ward, or something along those lines. So there's something that is possible here, at least something that's doable with this. Interesting combination. Thanks to F for pointing this out to me. And then we have Wrath of Decimus from the Crassus event, Legacy of Crassus. This existed last year already. This was what it was. It was actually pretty solid back then. I just want to point out that it exists now as well. If you're using Thwarting Strikes, if you're running a con build, this will have Enfeebling Maelstrom, Thwarting Strikes. This is going to be extremely good for any war set, pretty much. And then you can just choose your third perk on it now, because it's upgradable now. So that's pretty nice. But the other pieces, everything else that's coming from the event, is not really that great in comparison. What is nice is that there are some cool transmogs in this event. Some black heavy boots, of which you don't find many in the game, for transmog specifically. And then we have the little troll that they hit us with. So here you can see the recipe with a pristine gleamite, and they said that you can, you know, craft a 700 gear score item with locked perks, and I think some people understood that as you can choose the 3 perks. That was not the case. They meant locked perks as in locked perks. And you can see all these weapons here. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to show you what it is. It's Keen, Frost Attunement, and Luck. And all of them are luck. They are all like that. They are literally just all bad. Unless you care about luck. But in case you missed it, luck isn't really relevant in that sense, because luck doesn't scale higher with higher gear score. You can run a 625 luck piece and it'll have the same amount of luck. It's capped. See, down here it goes lower, but here it's capped. It doesn't change. So this set has no purpose other than you're doing a little bit more damage when you're doing your luck run somewhere, which you shouldn't be doing in the first place. So yeah, this is bad. And they decided to troll us even further and make the Oak region sets and all the other sets luck too, which I guess they didn't really troll us there because they were always luck. I think the weapons were luck as well at some point, but then I think they changed them or something. Anyways, you can do those with the Gleamite thing as well. Also, like, I think a week cooldown to craft any of these. You're getting health, enchanted ward, and luck. If you're a returning player, right, if you haven't played at all, then obviously getting a 700 piece with health and enchanted ward is not bad. And Magnify doesn't really bother you that much when you're just trying to get any half-decent gear. Getting luck with that, good luck with that, I suppose. But yeah, it's not horrible, but for anyone who was hoping for best in slot, that is not going to be where your best in slot is coming from. But again, we got a lot of new, interesting, strong pieces from the PvP track, from the new dungeon. And also, you can buy more chromatic seals and Azoth inductors from the winter event. So there are various other ways to get better gear now, just not the Gleamite thingos from the winter event itself. But fair enough. Anyways, that's it for this one. But we will talk about more regarding the entire... I want to say expansion, but it's Season 4 update, the PTR, in the next days. If you're interested in that, consider subscribing and clicking the bell to get notified. And if you would like to support me further and get early trading tips in return and general tips in my Discord, then feel free to do so on my Patreon. Thanks to all of my patrons who already do exactly that. And thank you for watching. Duke Sloth, out.